Once upon a time, there were two brothers. The pair were inseparable, even in their academics, where they pursued a career writing stories. One day, the older brother came up with an idea to collect and publish all the folktales they could find into one big book. All was well. However, only after collecting the last tale did they find their very first problem: how to end it. Neither brother could agree. They fought many moons over this, until one day, it all fell silent. The brothers had vanished without a trace, leaving only an unfinished book in their name. The book was returned to their family, and a mother mourned her missing sons. However, it wasn't long before the book and brothers were eventually forgotten to time. Hey, it's been a while, and I heard you all loud and clear. So, as highly requested, we're back with reimagining Ever After High Part 2, the long-awaited sequel to my best performing video on this channel, which I know I've said this before, but once again, thank you all so much for enjoying my content. I didn't think it would be as well received or noticed by that many people, but I really enjoyed answering questions and engaging with you guys in the comments, so glad to be back with more. You've probably gathered this already, but this video is a sequel and companion piece to my first part, where I went over the history of Ever After High and then pitched my own setting for a new story, and redesigns for some of the characters. So if you'd like a catch up, be sure to go watch that one first. Sorry I've kept you all waiting so long, but this is something I really wanted to put all my heart into. I mean, technically I did get a little busy during summer, as well as working on some other videos in between, but I poured a lot of time and attention into part 1, so I wanted to put the same amount of passion into part 2, and keep that quality train rolling. As you can gather, I don't like to rush things around here. So, I only wanted to make part 2 once I had designs I was confident in, and character writing that I thought was fun, which I suppose is now. However, before we dive right into part 2, I do have a few amendments that I want to make to part 1, that I wanted to take into account and actually apply. Starting us off with Raven's design. As proud as I am of her design, a lot of you brought up how the colour values between her hair that frames her face and the skin tone were way too similar, which leads to them blending together, and I totally agree. As fun as I thought the burgundies and maroons looked in her colour story, they kinda distract you in the hair, especially by making it seem brighter than it's meant to be. So to fix that, I just incorporated some more darks into her hair, as well as tweaking the colours to be more purple, like the purple you see on Raven's tiered skirt. Helps remind you that her colour scheme is purple, since I did forget that a little. Whoops. Next up, we have Briar. And like I said in that last video, I really struggled with Briar's outfit in general. I don't know, this does read as glam pajamas, which is what I wanted, but the colours are way too dark to what I imagined, and I feel like she could still be giving a little more party girl. So I just ended up redesigning her outfit completely, even tweaking her hairstyle. It's steered in a much more Garu direction, and I love it a whole lot more, so I hope you do too. Additionally, these amendments aren't just for design tweaks, but also to clarify some of the writing, as I kept seeing some repeated comments in relation to certain story beats or concepts, and instead of just copying and pasting my answers over and over again, I just thought to clarify them here in one place and make it easier for reference. Firstly, Apple and Raven's complicated family tree. A few of you were really confused by the Snow White family tree because of the implications of the story, and I can't blame anyone for this, because Ever After High wasn't exactly any less confusing about it either. As we know, in the original Snow White tale, the evil queen is her stepmother, implying that she married Snow White's father and into the family. So you would assume Ever After High would get kinda messy relationship-wise, considering Apple's mother would have to die, to which Raven would then marry Apple's father and then take over the kingdom and want Apple dead or whatever. Meaning Raven would become her stepmother, and also Apple's father was okay with marrying someone his daughter's age? Little weird there. However, the franchise itself did clarify some things and change how this tale went, as the evil queen doesn't just marry in and then take control of the family's throne, but rather just kind of comes and conquers their kingdom in a search for power. It seemed less about Snow White being so fair and beautiful, and more just her being an easy obstacle to push past, or what you could even interpret as the evil queen getting Snow White out of the picture, because she literally is the only character that can and will stop her, ending her tale and reign of power. So I think it's safe to say, in this universe, Raven becoming the evil queen just means she'll turn evil and steal power to do bad deeds across the land, starting with conquering Apple's kingdom, something she'd never do or want to be forced into doing. So I hope that clears things up. Secondly, the Charming's incest problem. This one I didn't expect to be a common question, but I suppose if you haven't seen the series, you wouldn't know the answer to it. Some of you were a little confused by how many Charmings there are and how it correlates to family trees, specifically interpreting that the kids would fall in love with the same Charmings as their parents, or even multiple people loving the same Charming, leading to an incest paradox situation, which is not at all how the series goes. As explained by the show itself, there are just many Charming families. It's a common last name in the fairy tale realm, kind of like Smith or Jones, so no one is falling in love with the same Charming over and over. Everyone finds their own special Charming in their generation, which is how the family trees keep going, and at most you'd get some relations between families like cousins, but never anything explicitly more mixed up. Hope that clears up the Charming name for you. Thirdly, is repeating the story not just doing a story? I mean, not really. I get that some of you would see repetition in the story and believe that is its contents, like the concept of it being a loop. However, in this case, these fairy tale stories were never meant to loop. It's just forced repetition. There was no grand ending, and out of fear everything might cease to exist, the characters just retraced their steps and it seemed to have worked temporarily. So now the order of the world is to rewind the stories and repeat them for the generations to keep things going. But again, this story isn't a loop, and yet there's still no clear ending either, so how long can a world that was meant to die keep on living? The answer is probably not past this generation, unless the cast can find a solution. Okay, with all that cleared up, how about we start getting more deep into the story, shall we? Our story resumes from its 12th beginning, as the world of Ever After High prepares the next generation of students for the most important task at hand, repeating the storybook of legends. The book itself is what created the world, and in turn, the world gives itself back to care for the book. However, there never was a true ending, so once all tales were told, the world was threatened with darkness and disaster. The devised solution to this? Repeat the story from the start. It surprisingly worked, and it was a great delay of the inevitable to think of a new solution, except one was never made. Now we're on the 12th loop, and things are beginning to fall apart. People have tried to find a solution, but no one has yet to succeed. Or perhaps they've had their efforts erased from history outright. Raven Queen has grown tired of this broken system with no end, but she too doesn't have an answer to it either. However, after finally taking her rebellious stand and refusing to sign her name in the book, she manages to find a forbidden text hidden amongst the school grounds that tells of a fabled writer's set. The collection consisted of a quill, paper, ink, thread, and the storybook of legends itself. Once all paired, the tools allow the user to alter and add to the storybook of legends. There's only one problem. No one, including Raven, has ever heard of these tools existing before, especially when they could have been the answer to all their problems. Wanting to be freed from a cursed fate, and accompanied by a supportive friend who very much doubts all this, Raven and Apple, along with others, follow rumors and urban legends, keeping things hidden from the adults, as they visit different realms to piece together parts of the tools, and finally write an end to this story, saving the world and giving everyone the freedom of choice. What new and wacky characters will they meet? And will everyone assist them in changing the world? Additionally, there are certain events unfortunately set to happen in this tale, such as the first consequence of Raven's actions, the Day of Retcons. The halfway mark of the story that sees a large number of characters disappear who were deemed unnecessary to the plot and getting the stories moving. Something that leads a great division between the Royals and Rebels, with the Royals' fears and commitment to the tales being proven right, yet the Rebels still standing with their decision and just wishing they had more support to fix all this. Ultimately, this will all get reversed in the finale, with characters reappearing once Raven and Apple find a solution to the book and give back the opportunity to write their own destinies. So, with some key plot points down, how about we pick up from where our story left off last time, shall we? Beginning our tales today is none other than one of the most important Wonderlandians. Daughter of the Queen of Hearts, it's the princess herself, Elizabeth Ann Hearts, or just Lizzie Hearts. 12th generation and a traditional royal. I love Lizzie. I think her design is just really up there with iconic Ever After High looks, so I had to do my diva justice. For my concept, I tried doing something very regal and ritzy. Her ruffle collar is larger and more encompassing of her big bouquet of rose-curled hair. Adorned with a cute heart tiara, she has a striking eye patch with a single white rose, a big fabric chest piece stitched over a formal corset which leads down to a ruffled and framed dress, like stage curtains, all topped off with some simple accessories such as diamond tights, rose-adorned gloves, and a very bizarre realistic heart purse. I didn't comment on her shoes because I ended up changing them 3 times, but I swear they're cuter than the loafers I originally planned. I just really wanted to push not only the heart motifs more, but also the roses to tie into the Queen's iconic rose garden scene. Well, that and I just think roses look really nice on her. But with her concept explained, let's hop into her character. Elizabeth Hearts is the proud Princess of Hearts, daughter of one of the 3 ruling queens in Wonderland, who is every bit regal, poised, and blunt with her orders. However, for those who know her, she's just Lizzie, a really big sweetheart who struggles to convey tone sometimes and how much she truly cares for others. Something that led her to bonding with Duchess Swan and Kitty Cheshire. Turns out, having unconventional ways of talking/emoting and mummy issues really helps you bond and find sisterhood pretty quickly. She wants nothing more than to help out, always giving her best advice to anyone and everyone, or in some dire situations, even step in and offer a hand. Some would describe her as a bit of a leader, always looking out for her subjects, and just like any other good leader, she'll take a secret to the grave, so perfect for gossiping too. However, despite her pristine royal behaviour, she still only ended up as the Vice Student Council President to Apple. Looks like home turf advantage wins again. Like some other Wonderlandians attending Ever After High, Lizzie is a refuge from Wonderland after Raven's mother, the evil queen, poisoned the realm and propelled a spread of madness, tainting and corrupting everything and anyone with it to become unreasonable and quite, well, mad. Despite the sealing of the realm being 5 years ago, it weighs on Lizzie just like it was yesterday. She bore witness to the outbreak, hearing her mother and the evil queen argue from the castle's garden, before the ground roared and split, thorns tearing and poisoning anything around them. And like a fool, Lizzie found herself surrounded, only saved by her mother's sacrifice. But even that was short-lasted, as consumed by madness, the Queen of Hearts only saw her daughter as a threat to the throne that needed to be cut down, slicing her daughter's eye. She was only intercepted by Darling Charming, who came in just in time to grab Lizzie and escape the realm that was set to be sealed off. In one day, her whole world had turned upside down, as her and many others had lost their home in no time. While her eye was damaged, she bore no signs of madness and was cleared to be released with the others. Yet, every day, she feels something gnaw away at her from the inside. She knows everybody talks about her. They pity her, envy her, fear her, hate her. Why can't she just make it stop? When will it all stop? Why can't it just go all quiet again? Why can't she just cut it all down? Even her catchphrase, "off with their heads," is something she says on impulse without much thought or control to anything she dislikes. What once was something cute she'd repeat to make her mother laugh is now something she finds distancing herself from others, which only seems to make her feel worse. But despite how out of place she might feel, it's thanks to all the different Wonderlandians she still has that she'll pull herself back together and strive to be a better leader for all of them, as one day she will get the home back. Despite all the hardships, this hasn't broken Lizzie's kind-hearted nature. But don't let that easily fool you. While she might be more relaxed and breezy with her royal activities, she takes sports extremely seriously, being into cricket, polo, croquet, badminton, and bowls. Her competitive spirit means she's always in it to win it, no matter what. And with her bestie Duchess Swan at her side, the pair aren't exactly the easiest to beat. But it's not just about taking part in sports Lizzie enjoys. She also loves watching matches, mostly for the jocks, but also ones that feature a certain Darling Charming competing that she can support from the stands. Something Apple isn't too big of a fan of, as the two act more like rivals competing for Darling's attention. However, while Apple might have her beat for Student Council President, Lizzie has the advantage of history with Darling. Before the fall of Wonderland, she was close with both Darling and Dexter Charming, mainly because their parents were trying to arrange a possible marriage between her and Dexter. However, this quickly fell through, but didn't stop the visits from Darling, who'd loved getting to train with swords and halberds, and would sneak off from time to time just to hang out with Lizzie and the Red Knight Squire, Chase Redford. She's always been fascinated by Darling's protection and ability to rush in and save anyone, but at the same time, she's never forgot a certain Red Squire's devotion to becoming a real Red Knight and serve as her sword and shield. She just hopes he's still alright in Wonderland. Because of all this, Lizzie is a staunch and proud royal. While partially due to her upbringing to be the next ruler, it's due to the madness outbreak that she views as a consequence of deviation, fearing to ever break the rules lest something like that happens again. But this leads her to being torn on Raven, someone she views as an incredibly smart and powerful leader, yet risk everything and everyone just on the chance of a better world. How can someone dare to keep fighting for something that cannot be? Or else, could it? It wouldn't really be until the final stand that I think Lizzie would rally the other royals to trust in Raven and pool their efforts to fight for a better future for all the realms. And here's Lizzie all finished up, and I'm so happy with how she turned out. While I loved her concept, it was translating all the details that made it 10 times more fun. The hair turned out exactly how I wanted and more. The outfit is so layered and detailed, and the shoes? See, I told you they were cuter than what I planned. Just some little flared booties with guillotine heels? I loved them, just like how I love this whole campy design, and I hope you do too. While Sleeping Beauty slumbers, the Dark Fawns will wait by her side all those years. It's the daughter of the Dark Fairy, Faybelle Thorn, 5th generation Dark Fairy and a complicated royal. For Faybelle's concept, I had a lot of fun as I just imagined her in a completely different direction, while still retaining some Dark Fairy or even pixie elements. Her hair is longer and more of an alternative choppy hairstyle, pulled back with a fawn bow. Her fashion is cute yet torn up and asymmetrical, with her blouse being something almost Briar would wear, her wings having more form to read like injured insect wings, tying into her iridescent butterfly wing petal skirt over some flared trousers that are ripped on one leg to reveal a stripy stocking, leading down to her baggy boots. And then all sorts of fun detailing such as the skin markings and a bunch of silver jewellery. The biggest change I probably made was with her colours, as instead of lilac skin with black and teal clothes, I made her grey and pushed more pinks and lavenders into everything, to really make all her colours feel more obvious and vibrant, but used the lavender to make elements of her feel empty and dead, kind of like her eyes. I also wanted her pose to feel a bit like she was levitating in the air, you know, being a fairy with wings and all, but not sure how well the execution turned out. But I'm getting a little ahead of myself, let's get into her character. Just like Briar, Faybelle is one of the odd cases with fairy tales, as she's only the 5th generation of her family. Not just because the Sleeping Beauty tale takes over 100 years each time to complete, but rather due to her life expectancy as a fairy. Like some other fantasy races in the world, fairies have a very different lifespan to humans, being about twice or thrice times as long. Whether it's due to their magic or the fact that most stories need a fairy, it means they're around a lot longer, fulfilling multiple tales, or in some cases even the same tale twice. So something like a new generation of fairies is a bit of a big deal, and only seen so often by families. However, this is a little bit different in the Beauties and Fawns case. Both families had made an agreement shortly after the first tale had finished. To ensure that everything could be properly repeated to the best of their abilities, they will have their children around similar times, to be raised and taught together, thus ensuring no Dark Fairy ends up in the wrong tale and slain, and no Beauty will miss their slumber. All with the benefit of the Dark Fairy being spared, and instead put under house arrest at a comfy castle. But that makes Faybelle's circumstances a little harder than others, as she was solely born for the sake of legacy. Her mother never wanted children, but was forced to comply for the sake of the world, and the incessant nagging from the Beauties about their family's deal. So once Faybelle was born, it was now for the others to deal with the Beauties holding up their end of the bargain, ensuring that for the most part, she was all paid for and taken care of by the family, as well as various pixies, considering she is a rather noble fairy in the realm. But even when young and oblivious to the world, she always looked towards her mother for attention, and the best way to get that is to follow the family legacy and be the best Dark Fairy she can be. Despite not being close or present much around Faybelle's life, it never did stop her mother from making comments and discouraging activities that she deemed a waste, from dance, cheering, poetry. None of that was befitting of a Dark Fairy, and she should just keep herself to her studies and magic. A Dark Fairy should always be her best. Now, Faybelle isn't exactly new to the series, as I actually brought her up quite a bit when talking about Briar, with the two being rather interlinked as a hero and villain pair who don't care about the actions of their story. Because they were raised around each other since birth, they've always had each other's backs no matter what, despite one not being as loyal as she claims to be. However, despite Briar's playful and unabashed personality, Faybelle is the total opposite. She's timid, looks tired, and always plays on the defensive when people ask her questions, believing in the worst in every situation, which has ended up giving her the reputation of an aggressive and spiteful person. Rumour has it she hexes and curses anyone over the tiniest things, which only leads to her being isolated by her peers even more, especially by Briar, who will only acknowledge her passing in the hallway with a smile. Can't let her personal and private life mix like that in front of everyone. However, people aren't entirely wrong about the hex rumour, as Faybelle does love to cast a good revenge spell to those that wrong her or others, but being a dark fairy in training, she still has a long way to go, as a lot of the time her hexes tend to backfire and do the opposite effect. I mean, who's heard of a dark fairy granting wishes? She struggles a lot to make friends, but that's okay. After all, she'll always have Briar, her best friend, and someone she gets to hang out with in secret on the regular, vent about school, drama, homework, and Briar even helps test out makeup or hairstyles. Briar's been the only person in her life to make her feel warm and safe, something she's never even had with her mother, and no matter what, she doesn't want to let go of that. Not that she really has to, she's going to be the one who waits for Briar to wake in 100 years, caring and tending to her until that special someone comes and awakens her with true love's kiss. True love. Did her kisses never count as true love? Her cutesy top and bow are something suggested by Briar to make them match, so she wears them proudly and always feels connected to her, even though they might not talk much in school. Yet, despite her struggles with socializing and being seen as an outcast, this never stops Farah Goodfairy always sitting next to her and sparking up conversation, something Faybelle deeply despises, and can't even fly away from. She has wings too. She sees Farah as fake, always got a big grin on, adored by all, and always casting her shadow over Faybelle. No matter how much effort she puts into school assignments, Farah does it better. No matter how much magic she casts, Farah does it better. No matter how much she tries, Farah will always be better. Someone truly nice wouldn't constantly make people feel so horrible. She must be doing it on purpose, just to outshine her and appear even more generous and graceful. And her excessive compliments to Faybelle about her hair, fashion, makeup, lipstick, dreamy eyes, it's a little much, and obviously just a joke to her. Just a mean, cruel joke. There's only one person who can compliment and look at her like that. Right? In Faybelle's case, her choice of side is complicated. Despite wanting to be rebellious, she's pushed between the royals and rebels, always being questioned and judged for what she truly is, when all she wants is the right to choose to be with her friend, Briar. And I guess she supposed Farah could be there too. It's not until a conversation with Farah about having the right to choose her life, choose her friends, be the fairy she wants to be no matter what anyone says, not even Farah, that Faybelle's choice is hers alone, no matter what that choice is, that she finally decides she wants to be a rebel. And most importantly, she wants Farah to be there with her as a friend. Something Farah finds really funny, because she thought they already were. However, this happiness was not meant to last, as delaying the inevitable of the storybook leads to the first wave of consequences to rear its ugly head, the day of retcons. After a thunderous boom across all the dimensions, certain characters found themselves beginning to disappear, and unfortunately for Faybelle, Farah was one of the retcons. It seems there were too many fairies in this story, and there's no need for one that selfishly didn't want to grant the wishes of others. Farah entrusts Faybelle with her wand and title as the next fairy godmother. She was always the better fairy at making others' wishes come true. If only Farah could have been honest about her wish. But even in this moment of despair, things couldn't get worse, right? Well, Briar finally decides to turn against Apple, letting her conflicted feelings and rejection of royalty come out, choosing to be a rebel, since if Apple had put more effort into helping Raven and the others find the right set, they could have fixed the story already. But to Faybelle, it's the complete opposite. To rebel against fate, against everyone's destinies, caused all of this, and for Briar to even change sides without considering Faybelle, not even asking for her thoughts or if she wanted to join too, that's enough for her to finally see how truly fake everything was, and she chooses to stand with Apple and the royals. All quite a bit complicated, isn't it? I guess we can only hope the girls can figure it out from here. And here's Faybelle all finished up, and I adore how she turned out. She is hands down one of my favourite faces I've drawn in the series so far. From her strong nose, pouty lips, defined cheeks, she's just pure fairy elegance here. I also loved pushing more detailing, such as her skin markings all over her body, as well as the various bits of silver that make her look so cool, especially her wing piercings. Like, come on, that's camp, right? I also love her little clasp purse. Something kind of old that was clearly gifted by the beauties, but she adores it, and always has a mini sewing set tucked away in there, just in case Briar needs an emergency repair. Either way, I really love her, and I hope you love her too. In every story, there's a Charming, and this one's fighting for her own destiny. Fulfilling the role of someone's Prince Charming, it's Darling Charming, 15th generation noble and a proud rebel. For her concept, I ran through a lot of ideas, as I wanted something a little more practical and perhaps more masculine like Oscar from Rose of Versailles, but still keeping the glam look and details of Rococo fashion, with one of my biggest struggles being, do I want to keep the skirt and dress look or not? But I think I settled on a good mix between the two, literally blending male and female Rococo fashion pieces together in this fun, flamboyant sword fighter approach. She's wearing a small frilled hat with iconic feathers. Her hair is more loose in a dramatic flowing ponytail. I made her makeup a lot paler to pop the pastel pinks and blues. Her top a simple blouse underneath a decorated and lacy jacket adorned with ribbons. Her trousers simple with a row of roses on each side. And onto my favourite bit, her repurposed leg warmers that lead down to these nightly themed heels. But with her design all explained, let's hop into her character. As I explained a little earlier, the Charmings are a bit different in this story, no longer being royalty but rather just nobles, like many of the other Charming families in the fairy tale realm. See, Charming is an extremely common name, mostly because almost every story needs one to swoop in and save the day, giving the audience their happy ending. So it's every Charming's dream to become the Charming, and marry their way into a fairy tale, solidifying them and their family in history. This, in turn, has led to an unfortunate toxic cycle of families having children for the sake of arranged marriages and fateful encounters, securing comfort and wealth for the rest of them. However, if none of their children succeed their way into a fairy tale, then they're arranged off to another noble family to start the next generation, and instill the idea onto their kids that they must succeed this time. This puts a lot of pressure on our first Charming of the series, Darling Charming, the youngest sibling of 3, by 10 seconds from her twin brother, Dexter. However, she's the one that's made the biggest splash amongst them. See, while the fairy tale world might be a bit more open-minded than expected, that doesn't mean that there are many Princess Charmings very often. So, a lot of the time, to be a daughter in a Charming household is to be inevitably married off. However, Darling refused. She plans to revolutionize this family's name by becoming a Prince Charming herself. She knew who she was for a long time, being a girl who likes girls, and wanted to take up the sword, hiding her true self from her parents until she couldn't take it anymore, and finally stood up for herself, revealing that she wants to forge her own path and find that fairy tale that fits her, to which her parents were oddly delighted? Seeing how much work and effort she had committed, they knew she was bound to become some lucky princess's knight in charming armor. But were they really supporting her? Or just excited to see that she had a better chance of marrying into a fairy tale than the other two? Something that weighs on Darling's shoulders, but you'll never catch her revealing that, especially at school, where she's got quite the reputation and fan club. Most of this can be attributed to her constantly helping and saving others without a second thought, not realizing that's another fan made each time, and they all flock to support her from her fencing matches to book ball. She's everybody's favourite jock, including a certain Apple, who she seemed to caught the eye of recently. But she's not just a glamorous jock, she's also got quite a fondness for music. Being raised around noble activities such as the arts, she found peaceful serenity in playing the cello and violin, and always takes her studies seriously, especially when it comes to geography and history, wanting to know all about the realms that she wishes to one day travel and explore. I mean, maybe they'll need a Prince Charming over there. It's totally not because she wants to leave her responsibilities behind or anything. Darling actually knows quite a few of the characters. As mentioned in Lizzie Hearts' section, she used to sneak off to Wonderland to hang out with her and train with Chase Redford in the art of sword fighting. And it was her bravery and quick thinking that protected Lizzie from the mad Queen of Hearts and escaped the realm before it was sealed. But to be honest, she doesn't even know how they made it out. As they ran through the trees and hedges, it kept spiraling them and twisting them around, and it was almost as if doors kept appearing conveniently ahead to guide them, cued by the sound of a ticking clock and paw prints left on the ground. She always wondered who it was that led them out, and hopes they're safe in Wonderland. Darling also knows Apple, considering she was dating her brother Daring for the longest time. However, other than the occasional tea party, the two didn't actually hang out much, not really having similar hobbies that would cross paths. It's only after attending After High did they begin to talk more, and come to rely on one another over the stresses they face as their family's golden girls, and neither truly knowing who they want to be. However, as I said, she's run into quite a few of the princesses. She knew of Raven from her playdates with Apple as a child, but got to know her more along with Maddie when she stopped by the Hatter's tea shop. She's really close with Ashlyn, who she sees as nothing but a humble and kind soul, and always trusts her fashion advice, being the one that tailored her jacket and made her leg warmers. But as well, she's besties with Rosabella Beauty, Briar's cousin, who she studies with, and loves to hear her passion for advocation and all the ways she wants to improve the world they live in. Something so inspiring to Darling. something she wishes she could find. From the very beginning, Darling showed vocal support for Raven as a rebel. Being someone who rebelled against her original fate in her family, she believes in choice and wants to break the cycle of misfortune and suffering for all. She stands in contrast to the other royals like her brothers in Apple, who can't seem to understand this, believing they can convince her of reason. But even after the reclamation of Wonderland, Day of Retcons, Journey to Olympus, and more, she still stands as a rebel, and as long as someone needs help, she'll keep fighting to protect the others. However, she can't keep running from her problems forever. With each princess she saves, her woes get heavier and heavier, before eventually Darling hits a wall. She can't be a Prince Charming. She never really was to begin with. All this running around playing pretend makes her feel like she doesn't know who she truly is anymore. Did all the princesses just love the ideal she projected? How she fit the role they needed? Has she ever truly been loved? Maybe she'll always just be a damsel, and always a charming. Perhaps it's better to be. So, playing the role she feels trapped in, she saves Apple by eating the poison apple and falling into a coma. But the coma feels different to what she expected, almost like she's awake just watching her vision in the distance in some sort of floral glass coffin. She can see Apple break down for her, apologize to her, pick up her sword and defend her from the darkness creeping in. Why did she do all this again? Wasn't Apple only doing this because she wanted a charming? It's only after true love's kiss can the two confront. Apple wanted a savior, someone to just fix everything and give her a happy ending, but she imposed these ideas and problems onto Darling, treating her as any other Prince Charming, as her brother. But she knows now she doesn't want to be saved anymore. She doesn't want her parents' legacy, and she doesn't want a Prince Charming. She just wants Darling and to stand together as equals. Darling, on the other hand, just wanted to be seen and loved for her true self. She became what she thought others would want and to break free from this cage, but just found herself in an even lonelier one. She can't revolutionize anything as a prince, she needs to revolutionize it as herself, and anyone else that wants to stand by her. Hand in hand, they promise to write their own tales, ones that could perhaps intertwine together. But before any of that, they need to go and help everybody try and stop the oncoming era of darkness, once and for all. I think her finished design is absolutely gorgeous. It's so pretty and camp in such a fun way. This might be a little dividing, but I love the mix of golds and silvers here. I know Darling was only silver in her original design, however I feel like a lot of Rococo relied on gold accents, and what's a better way of displaying one's wealth and influence than having both on the outfit? These charmings can afford it all. I also did realize I forgot to give her some sort of bag or accessory like I have with everyone else so far. So I just gave her a simple bag hanging behind her back, along with a saber in its sheath, just so she always has a weapon on hand to spring into action. Deep in the woods lies a hunter who aids many. Son of the huntsman, it's everyone's favourite bumbling jock, Hunter Woodsmann, 11th generation and a secret rebel. Hey, we finally got to one of the guys in the series! And this is a first for me, but Hunter's actually a boy doll and design I really like. His outfit is super stylish and well crafted, his face looks sweet, and his personality and story are just fantastic writing. I adore him and Ashlyn's love for one another. My literal only gripe with this man is just the half-shaved Karen bob hair. Like, I know it was trying to be modern and trendy, but it just makes his scalp look really tiny, and the pin straight hair with no unique color blend or styling? Okay. Anyway, for my concept, I really wanted to keep the same vibe, but to push his humble jock background. You know, someone that's big and got muscles from doing labor, rather than the more lean six-pack abs like gym muscles. He's got more of an olive light tan skin from where he's been out in the sun so much. That hellish bob is replaced with a curly mop of hair, with more of a shaved undercut going on. I originally was going to give him a mullet, but the style just wasn't working for me, so it got scrapped. His green shirt's now a patched together hoodie over a simple cotton shirt, all topped off with his iconic leather vest, which Ashlyn made for him. He's wearing some simple gradient cargos that lead down to solid chunky boots, finished off with little details such as silver jewelry, a scraggly goatee, and various different scars. But I think it's about time we get into his character. Hunter is a gentle and soft soul, living in the forest quite humbly with his father, the previous huntsman, his mother, and younger sister Fern. They live off the land and provide back for it, believing in the importance of recycling materials. His family keeps it simple and slow, and that's just tradition for them. Usually, the Woodsmen only have one child, so the fact that Hunter has a little sister, it's something unheard of for the family tree. You probably noticed I've referred to their last name as Woodsmann twice now, and no, that's not a mistake. I thought to change their family name to something more nature-based, because there's no way I'm letting the name Hunter Huntsman pass by. This is another gingerbread house to me. You can have an unsubtle name and still make them sound good. You guys did this, like in the same series. Anyway, unlike the others, Hunter's quite accident prone, which has led to many scars on his body before he's even had to fulfill his tale and fight off the big bad wolf. And just like the fairies, he's got one of the odd fairy tales, with his destiny fulfilling various tales from Red Riding Hood to Snow White. If anyone needs a hunter, he's meant to be your guy. But there's just one small problem he's having, as despite appearances, he's actually vegetarian and wouldn't harm a soul. Being raised in the woods surrounded by animals, he came to care for all of them equally, and swore off meat, choosing to work with animals for foraging and for the food they could provide for him, such as milk and eggs. He's even learned to understand the animals through their emotions and behaviour, but after his chance meeting with Ashlyn, and learning there was a way to actually communicate with them, he became obsessed with finally talking to them one-on-one. Although, turns out learning Animalese and all its variations of dialect between species is quite hard, or maybe it's just hard to focus on your lessons with Ashlyn looking as perfect as always. Either way, he's a gentle giant, which adds a bit of conflict to his fate, as not only does he feel pressure by the town and royals who depend on him as the huntsman as is, but he'll eventually have to slay Ramona, Cerise's older sister, someone who's his neighbour and was even his babysitter, not to mention having to hunt Apple one day, or believe that Raven would become so vindictive and evil. His real dream is to become a veterinarian or a general animal carer, and put his love for animals back into helping them. He already volunteers at school to take care of the various creatures, ensuring everyone has a comfortable pen that they can rest in, and always getting the exercise they need. Not to mention, just like Ashlyn, he also works in a shop in Bookend, specifically a little pet shop / groomers, where he's come to recognize different characters' faces when taking in their family pets at the reception. There was a period of time in which he did try pet walking as a side gig for some extra cash. However, whether it was his energetic workouts or the pets getting a little too excited, the trouble caused was enough to shut down and bar his little side business for life. Despite all this, he still doesn't want to let his dad down or think that he's too soft, so he keeps up with archery and bookball just to keep him happy, even if deep down he knows it's just not right for him. But that's not the only thing he knows deep down. As important as legacy is, his father always gets so cagey when it comes to talking about the day he fulfilled it for Red Riding Hood. In fact, all the families are, including Cerise and Ramona, something Hunter finds strange and hangs over his head. Just what happened on that night? Thanks to his easy nature, he's pretty friendly with most people in his year, like his roomie Dexter Charming, who he finds a little distant and quiet, but always offers to help him study so Hunter doesn't get left behind. He's super close with Humpty and Tiny, two polar opposites to him, but what he finds makes them click so much better. And while he's chill with Daring Charming and Sparrowhood, he does keep them a bit at arm's length. It's sometimes a bit too much to be around, especially when girls get brought up. However, Cerise and Cedar are like old family friends to him, all growing up near one another on the outskirts of town. Their three families all closely linked with one another, from helping Pinocchio find wood to carve cedar, to gifting extra vegetables to the Hoods. The kids grew up practically like family and act like one in school. But of course, Hunter's best friend will always be Ashlyn Ella. As we all know from the last video, and the series as a whole, Hunter met Ashlyn in the Enchanted Woods, a place he thought was quiet enough for more crazy stress release workouts. But the woods is used more often than anyone seems to realise, and it wasn't long before Ashlyn had run into Hunter following his push-up grunts, thinking a bear was injured or something. But when face to face with another human, the only priority for Hunter over clearing things up was asking if she understood the animals too. And as we know, what started as friends teaching Animalese to one another slowly became something more, with Hunter not really sure how he even got here. One minute you're sharing interests, next minute you bought her a bouquet of flowers for dyes, and you want to spend every waking moment with her when possible. Just everything about her is beautiful. Her freckles, soft hands, hazel eyes. He gets distracted so easily thinking about her, and how lucky of a boyfriend he truly is. She even mends his clothes regularly, adding cute embellishments and patches, something he tells his friends is from his mother, and his family just assumes he's picked up sewing to repair things himself. Just as Ashlyn, Hunter would be a rebel early in the story, Once threatened to have their secret outed, he breaks up with Aisling to preserve their legacy and reputation as a royal. I mean, she's a princess after all. Yet, it's Aisling who takes center stage and declares her love for him in front of everyone, no longer wanting to hide anything, because she knows she found her true love. She would have gone the full mile to hypothetically sweep him off his feet, but there's no way she can lift a 6-foot-something brick house. But you know, the thought was there, which is what counts. And together, they each lend their strengths towards the search for the right set, and stopping the era of darkness. And his hunter all finished up, and I think he turned out cute. From his cheery eyes to all the added pops of yellow, he looks so fun and I couldn't be happier with the final result. My favourite part is the pinks in his eyes that reference Aisling, kind of like how her hazel eyes having green in them kind of references Hunter. Not to mention, I'm so happy with his hair. I added in some reddish ginger strands to reference his mother's hair colour, and I think they add a fun pop and cooler colour blend. I also have to get the jump before anyone in the comments gets that sneak on me. Yes, he does kind of resemble human Shrek. And yes, if you do put the mask on him, he does look like how people were drawing Dream. That's what the mask is. With that all cleared up, let's move on and just let him live. On to our last character of the day. Walking the path of morality and learning lessons along the way, we have the daughter of Pinocchio, Cedar Wood, 8th generation, and someone who can't choose a side. Don't worry about her only being 8th generation. The family tree got delayed a little bit, as it took her 3rd generation ancestor a little longer than expected to figure out the whole morals of the story thing and complete the tale. For my concept, I'm going quite dark here, as Pinocchio was carved into the image of a young boy, so I thought it'd be a little more accurate to carve Cedar into the image of a young girl, forever immortalized by her young, small, cheery figure. Eyes forever large and innocent, yet soulless and fake. She's much more evidently a puppet, with wood carvings all along her body, including her engraved cheeks and edges. I based her fashion more off 19th century Italian children's formal attire, tying into the century Pinocchio was released, as well as its country of origin, but still giving a bit of fantastical swing, bright pops of colours and ribbons, almost imitating the binding of puppet strings. She also has a cute pouch for foraging, a pointy hat referencing the original Pinocchio's design, and some high platform shoes to make her feel taller. And I thought it was quite morbid having her grasshopper be a hair accessory, so instead I thought to put it on the top of her walking cane. And as for her hair, I had originally planned on doing some simple braids into big tight curls, but that just kind of felt too safe, and I wanted to push for something more interesting. So I settled on some spiral braids, pulled back into a ponytail, because I thought the center of the spiral could kind of resemble a tree stump, sort of like her OG design's earrings. Well, with that all explained, let's hop into our character. Cedar Wood is a cheery, talkative little girl who tries her very best. Being carved in the image of a perfect child, she therefore aims to be exactly that. Despite her small stature, she's got a big heart, always offering a helping hand to anyone she sees, from friends to strangers and even old ladies at the market. Cedar aims to do good, even being top in some of her classes. She prides herself on her knowledge and to share it with others who might struggle, like Briar after sleeping through a class by accident, or Sparrow Hood who got caught skipping again. She's known around by almost everyone, probably due to the fact that she's known them all since childhood, even used to be bigger than some of them, but now they've all gone and outgrown her, or she's just the same as she'll always be. Which is fine, at least she'll still get a glimpse of what it's like to be a teenager when listening to their problems, being the perfect third party to arguments and drama. Except, she knows people withhold truths, not wanting to say something inappropriate around a child, or risk her ability not to lie leading to Cedar accidentally spilling the truth to the wrong person. See, her father, the great and born-again Pinocchio, had the fantastic idea to put a truth spell on Cedar when she was just a young puppet after she told one single lie, when all she was trying to do was show Pinocchio and Geppetto what Cerise and Hunter had taught her. The spell stops her from ever lying until the day her tale finally begins, whenever that might be, to ensure that this would set her on the right path early. Better instill those positive morals by force. That was obviously the goal of the tale anyway. She loves her father very much, and how much he cares for her. I mean, what other father would rush the beginning of their daughter's tale, trapping them in a wooden casket at the wrong age, so she's forever stuck as an outsider amongst the rest of her peers? Mental age is just as important as physical age. Everyone totally knows that and applies it to Cedar fairly. She's never felt out of place. She's never felt trapped in her own body. She's never felt flesh. Cedar Wood is a girl who can never truly express how she feels, because she herself doesn't even know what truth and lies are anymore. A truth is meant to be honest and blunt, and a lie deceiving and harsh. But what does it mean to be honest when that's all you can ever be, even against your will? After a while, that's no longer honesty, it's just giving people what they want to hear. But isn't that deceitful? Which is a lie. You're lying to people around you non-stop. But your nose doesn't grow, and you were cursed with a truth spell, so isn't this magically correct? To Cedar, these questions had circled her head for years, until she gave into the truth everyone else wanted to hear. The truth says that she's a perfect child, so therefore she must act like one. The truth says she cannot lie, so therefore she is placed at a distance from all her friends, whether unintentionally or not. The truth says Cedar wished she had no father, yet she still has one. She carries her walking stick not only as a reminder of her consciousness, but to help her walk when her leg joints get stuck from time to time. Despite being entombed in a body whose limbs can be repaired and partially replaced, who knew metal joints could jam and rust so often? Cedar knows. She frequently knows. In fact, only she knows what it feels like to be disassembled, something that can be played off as so silly, but only makes her pain for a real body intensify. All Cedar truly longs for is to grow up and live a normal life, but even she's cursed with a tale that's a double-edged sword, as to become a real girl, a real human, means she'll never get a truly happy ending. This is because the Pinocchio tale will require her alone. There's some loopholes there where she can have her father or grandfather around, but any romantic partner will leave, disappear, or die. She can't even have children, whether biological or adopted, as she fears the same thing happening to them, and she could never bring herself to harm a child. It's why Cedar doesn't want to continue this endless cycle and carve out a new destiny where she can just be happy and free, finally confront her father and everyone with her true feelings and be treated like a normal person. But unfortunately, that's all just a dream. As mentioned, Cedar cannot choose a side as she doesn't know where to go. She wants to be a rebel and free of her strings, but there's the chance that changing the story means she'll never become human, a punishment she'd never wish on anyone. Yet she can't be a royal either, as to follow her destiny will just lead to a bad ending with her now being human and alone. Unable to pick, she frames her choice as being a medium between the two sides, since both tell truths and lies, and she can only do one of those, something easily believed by others with no questions. Yet she at least gets to help out with tracking down the different parts of the writer's set, and accompany Raven and her friends under the guise of just being their intelligent scholar, praying that someone, anyone, would just try and help her. It would be during the reclamation of Wonderland where Cedar would finally play her largest part in the story. As the girls find themselves confronted by Courtly and the mad Cheshire Cat, Cedar, without a thought, protects a distracted Briar and Raven from an attack, and in that moment, legs shattered, arms splintered, and chest partially broken, Cedar finally felt a new sensation, other than the second of tingling warmth when she burnt her feet at the age of 2 weeks. It was cold, and she quite liked it. Cedar Wood is gone. But her tale doesn't just simply end here. Whether anyone figured it out or not, Cedar had carried out her tale's journey. She struggled with morality, aimed to do nothing but selfless acts, rejected any selfish desire no matter how tempting, and even gave her life up for her friends who she wanted to save no matter what. She truly was a real girl. And out of nowhere, a blue light appears, beaming down. A ghostly form picks Cedar up, cradling her like a child, and spinning faster and faster, before, in a flash, the figure and light are gone. But standing in her place is a girl. A real girl. Despite the odds and the continuity, Cedar had completed her destiny. And here's Cedar all finished up. Sorry if her story was really sad and a lot more grim compared to everyone else so far. However, I really do just view Pinocchio's story as more of a tragic horror, unfortunately, and I wanted to translate that into my interpretation. My favourite part of this design is definitely her eyes, as I think something ended up getting lost when I translated them from the sketch, going from a lot more cute and innocent to concerningly larger and empty, which for the living puppet character was the perfect result. I also really loved how her hair turned out. I mean, I don't really think it makes much sense, as she should not have that many swirl braids behind her head, and I definitely could have reduced the numbers and flare of them, but all rendered, I just think they all look really nice. So I hope you can overlook that bit. But wait a second, didn't I say she became a real girl at the end? This is just a puppet design. Well, as a bonus, I also threw in her human form. The key difference being she's actually grown now. Well, a little. She might not be as tall as she wanted to, or imagined, but regardless, she'll grow, age, and most importantly, feel like everyone else, and that's what matters the most to her. So I hope you like both of her designs. On to our last character of the day, Wait, didn't I say this already? Man, time's getting a little funny. Something our next character, the daughter of the White Rabbit, Bunny Blanc, 19th generation, would know a lot about. Don't mind the 19th generation thing too much, rabbits just have big families. For her concept, I should probably address the elephant in the room. She's a bunny now. See, I have a lot of thoughts on Bunny's original design. Not a lot of them being good, but I think she gets too much flack in general. She was still giving something, guys, even if it was two completely different styles between the show and the doll. So let's unify that. Bunny is now a white rabbit just like her father, since I don't see why we couldn't push for a more Monster High approach and just make her a furry creature, since her being a girl who could turn into a bunny was a lot weirder than her just outright being a rabbit. I mean, not as weird as her having two skin tones and hair colors, but you know. Alright, I'll stop with the jabs. Either way, being a bunny, she now has white fur, which features pink tints around her nose, ears, and fingers, if you could see them. She does still have hair, being a blonde choppy bob featuring pink and teal strands. Her fashion is very 19th century inspired, but of course modernized, with hints of some Lolita influence. She has a skewered top hat adorned with a looking glass and a personalized card of hearts. A frilled clock-themed collar, which is mostly covered by two ties styled to look like a bow. A stripy, puffy corset romper thingy. I don't really know what to call this. I know there's a name. It's that. Some frilly leg warmer chaps down to some cute heart loafers. And lastly, these traditional silk gloves and a cute business brief bag. I also tried assigning her own unique suit symbol. Since Wonderland has such a strong association with the deck of cards, I thought it could be fun trying to give all the Wonderlandians different suits to make them all interlinked yet stood apart. So where Lizzie has heart motifs because, of course, Queen of Hearts, I thought Bunny could have diamonds, since they're also a red suit which would complement the heart, tying into the Alice in Wonderland tale where the White Rabbit is technically in the Queen of Hearts court. My main goal was to give formal business vibes to match her father, and his never-ending business and appointments, but also read a little bit like a funeral director, with dark muted and grey colours, for reasons you'll soon find out. Originally, I did try having a more simplified preppy look, almost like a casino dealer, and while it was nice, it just felt a little too simple for me. Maybe it was the shirt or the shorts, but I don't know, it was missing the fun detailing and patterns that I think the final look has. And with that all covered, how about we hop into our character? Bunny Blanc is a rather nervous girl, easily stressed and clearly carrying a lot more baggage than she'd ever burden people with. While it could be the struggles and tribulations of puberty and first love, it could also be due to the fact that her entire world was turned upside down the day Wonderland was corrupted with madness, and she and many others found themselves sealed off from the other realms and dimensions. While they tried their best to defend their towns or set up camps, many settlements would fall. However, some found the most luck choosing to take refuge within Wonderland High's walls, thanks to it being a converted castle donated by the Queen of White. The walls are guarded by a mixture of knights from the Queen of Hearts, the Queen of Red, and the Queen of White's kingdoms. Anyone who managed to escape the madness that day and put their efforts into protecting those weaker. Although quite packed and ever tense, life continues on, with the kids still being urged to get an education from the adults who volunteer from time to time in class, including Bunny's father, the White Rabbit, who's acting as a temporary principal and trying his best to manage the school, as well as the settlement's paperwork. Someone's got to keep track of people in stock. She wishes she could help her father more, but the adults don't want the children of Wonderland to worry and get wrapped up in this problem. So for now, she finds herself an occasional errand girl, delivering forms and sometimes a nice home-cooked meal to her father's office, where she hopes they could just sit together for a couple minutes and share a meal. But he never seems to have the time, and unfortunately, she can't give up any of hers. But that's fine. I mean, it's not really, since Bunny feels quite lonely, but she knows the adults are trying their best to help, and luckily she's got Alistair to help keep her company. They've been close since they were kids, almost as if drawn together. But where Bunny was more reserved and hesitant to take action, Alistair would make up for it with bold optimism and a head-forward approach. He was her perfect counter, and everything she wished she could be. But he just wanted to support her and do his best to help where she might need it, just as she helps him stay realistic and grounded. If Bunny needed a chess partner, he was there, even if a little bad at it. And if Alistair needed an art model, she was there to awkwardly pose, at least until he has her laughing to the point they can't take things seriously. They're an inseparable duo, always looking out for one another, and Bunny finds herself truly able to relax when she's around him, finally feeling calm and warm inside, and possibly feel even more for each other. She still can't tell Alistair the real reason why she's always so anxious, or rather, doesn't know how to explain it. I mean, to say that you can hear people's internal clocks sounds mad, something you don't want others to think. But it's not madness, and that's what makes it even more terrifying for Bunny. See, just like her father, and the many white rabbits before them, their magic is tied to time, always hearing it tick away, and in some well-coordinated scenarios, even being able to manipulate it by jumping forward or backwards through magic doors that you naturally find. However, if Bunny could only hear time, then everything would be fine. She'd probably learn to block it out, or get used to the gentle hum of ticking. But what truly stresses her out is realizing why she only hears people's internal clocks temporarily. It's specifically those whose time is coming to an end, meaning all she hears is the inevitability of death ringing around her non-stop, from the school, the walls, and even in the distance, and the sounds are getting more frequent. The madness is creeping up on Wonderland, and if they don't do anything to stop it, all will be swallowed up by it. But that's where Bunny and Alistair plan to make a change. Believing Bunny just has some sort of sixth sense about madness, kind of like his own sixth sense for traveling, Alistair plans to escape the settlement and find a cure for the madness, offering Bunny the chance to come along, only if she's feeling up for it. Yet, if it wasn't for her warping magic, the pair never would have been able to escape the school's walls. They did leave a note behind addressed to the White Rabbit, promising to be back soon after they fix this problem. It's scary, exciting, dangerous, and completely stupid, but no one will listen to Bunny's warnings. So she'll have to put on a brave face if it means saving the people of Wonderland and reopening the realm once again. But things can never be so simple, and something's been keeping her up at night recently, something she can't do anything about. She can now hear Alistair's time ticking away, and she can't bear to lose him just yet. Despite all odds, Bunny would be a royal. Not that many Wonderlandians know about the ongoing royal and rebel conflict outside. She actually wants to continue her family's legacy. However, she understands and respects the rebels' decisions, including Alistair, who she was quite surprised to find out wanted to rebel, wanting to explore the different realms out there and not just stay confined to Wonderland. But before that, the two of them have to band together and find the right set to prevent an era of darkness and give them the freedom of choice again. And that's Bunny all finished up, and I absolutely adore how she turned out. I think it's even better than my concept. Her bunny features are so cute, especially a little bucktooth, and her diamond whisker freckles. Not to mention, her eyes looking tired and empty in the right way, with that pink pupil is so striking. One worry I did have was with the colours, as I didn't think lilac, pink, and teal would mesh well. But surprisingly, all of them work perfectly together as accents to the greys and blacks. And all the details such as patterns and textures are a great finishing touch, especially the stripes and plaid that were really complementary and add so much more depth to what could have been such simple flat colouring. Either way, I love her and I hope you do too. And with that, we're done with our second lot of G2 Ever After High characters. I've been having a lot of fun making these videos, and I'm sure you can tell by all the extra stuff I keep adding in. But I hope you enjoyed the character choices for this one. Quite a few of you managed to predict the exact lineup for part 2 within days of me posting, so I did have to try and cheat a little and mix up the order, adding in Hunter and Bunny to throw some of you off. I mean, I did give a sneak peek at some of the designs in the community post, as well as an animation meme which showed off Cedar a little early, but I wanted to pick characters that I had the strongest visions and ideas for, from Lizzie's decadent roses to Bunny's animalistic traits, and I'm happy with how all of them turned out. My favourites definitely have to be Lizzie, Faybelle, and Bunny, but I'd love to hear who yours were, or even how you feel about their stories down below. I know some of them were a lot more tragic and grim than others. Sorry, Faybelle and Cedar. But for the next set of characters, because there will be a part 3, trust me, probably in 2077 knowing my rate, I want to turn the choice over to you guys. The next part will definitely feature Cerise Hood, who was planned to be in part 1 all those months back, and Duchess Swan. However, I want to give you guys the choice of vote for the remaining 2 spots. Your choices being between the fairy born to grant wishes but can never have her own, Farrah Goodberry, the middle child forced to continue his family name, Dexter Charming, someone who's a treat to be around and wants to brighten up everyone's day, Ginger B. House, and lastly, the incarnation of the god of love and yearning to find a place to call her own, C.A. Cupid. Make sure to comment the 2 characters you want to see down below. But Alpine, there's only 4 characters so far. Who's going to be the 5th? Well, since Ever After High is all about different fairy tales, how about we make a new one? I'd love to hear any fairy tales you guys are particularly a fan of and wish got adapted into the series, perhaps ones from different cultures, and maybe I'll pick one that jumps out to me and try my best to make them fit within the story. Now, before I wrap up today, it's time for my Shoutout Corner, where I recommend you guys some similar great content to watch if you're still looking for that Ever After High vibe. Firstly, we have PreciseSpace, who actually dropped their part 2 just before my original video came out. However, I was too deep into production for me to add them last minute, so they're getting a shout out now. It's a fun, short, and sweet video with great character choices, and I highly recommend. Secondly, we have PinePaz, whose video really inspired me to try and get back into my designs. They mostly tackled the main cast, but their art style is so pretty to look at, not to mention their Briar and Maddie designs are just so peak, all must watch this now. Lastly, we have MNGO, whose video was more about designing the descendants of Ever After High characters, which I think was a really fun twist on this usual video idea. That and the colour palettes they choose are to die for, I'm obsessed. I've linked all their videos in the description down below, so be sure to check them all out, and maybe even leave a nice comment. But with that, I hope you all had a good time watching, and have a great rest of your day. Don't forget to comment, like, and subscribe, and I'll catch you all next time. See ya!